So it's Pastor Appreciation Month, and I'm doing a series of videos on what it's like to be a pastor, what being a pastor means, how I became a pastor, trying to encourage you as well to appreciate your pastor and everything they do. Not every pastor is what a lot of people think of. We oftentimes have an image of what a pastor's like and their behavior and what they're supposed to like and not like and behave like. And I was actually given this shirt by one of my viewers on my other channel, and I just love it because it sums it up so well. A lot of times we're not what you think. We're also on the same spiritual walk and journey and trying to encourage people to go. Being a pastor is different. It's hard. It can be a struggle. And I'm out here with my dogs as my dog's chewing something she shouldn't be. But just like I'm having to get her off of that, there's a lot of times as pastors that we are asked to do things to fix other people, to make them stop doing things. Why haven't we done this? Why haven't we done that? And there's a lot of times people seem to think that pastors have an ability that they don't, that they do things that they're not capable of doing. I can remember one time in one of my Sunday school classes, I had a gentleman that asked me, well, what are you going to do about so-and-so doing such and such? And talking about a national figure, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. I have no way to change this person, to change the situation, the circumstances. I'm helpless in that regard. What I can say is that this is right or wrong based on this scripture and this principle. But as far as me being able to change people, I don't have that ability. The only way people are going to change is if they want to, if they decide they're going to change and they want to let God change them. That's all I can do. And I've had people get upset over that. I've had people get upset when, you say what they don't want to hear. One of the hardest things as a pastor sometimes is we're basically under orders to say what people need to hear. And oftentimes it's not what they want to hear. They're different things. Sometimes they're definitely the same thing. I mean, you love those times when you get to say, hey, let me tell you something that God says that's going to make you feel good about yourself and about what's going on and how things are going to work out. I love those. But there are times we have to say things that people don't want to hear. Hey, this is wrong. This behavior is wrong. This attitude is wrong. And it hurts when you have people that look at you and go, well, how dare you say that? How dare you talk about... Yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about you. I'm talking about a situation. Pastors go through a lot of things. We counsel people. We get phone calls at all hours of the day and night. Most pastors I know are bivocational. It means they have to work another job outside. So they're trying to juggle this other job and family and pastor the church as well. And it's a tough thing. A lot of times it's a thankless thing. When people have problems and struggles and issues, they come to you. They unload them on you, which is why we're here. That's what we're here for. That's our job. But then you have a number of times people say, oh no, now you know too much about me. I can't look at you anymore. And they go somewhere else and just leave. Why? What'd I do? Thought I was helping you. People don't always understand that our schedules are full. I tell people that my pastoring, between the time it takes me to prepare a sermon, because everybody wants to hear a good message. You don't just stand up on a Sunday morning and say, hey, here I am, let's talk. On average, for about every 5 minutes of preaching, it's about an hour's worth of preparation. I typically preach about 30 minutes. So there's 6 hours of preparation, minimum, plus background work and other stuff. Do that twice a week. So now I'm up to 12 hours. And that's just to stand up and speak. Oh, and then leading worship, we spend a couple hours a week practicing that. Wish I had more time to do it so I could do it a lot better. But that's just the very basics. And then there's the paperwork and the visiting people and trying to organize things. And if somebody's in need, you help them out. And it ends up being, on an average week for me, I spend probably about 40 hours working on things for the church. And it's not enough time. You need more time. And then I have my own side job I have to do. That typically takes me about another 30 hours or so. It's a long week. There are some pastors that are blessed enough to be able to work full-time for their church, but they're still busy. They still have more than they can do. We carry the burdens of everybody around us. Many pastors don't have close friends. It's very hard to have a close friend in the church you're pastoring, because you can't share what's going on. You know a lot of what's going on with people around you, but you can't share it with other people, at least not that they may know, because then it's gossip. And so you're kind of stuck carrying that burden alone. If you're going through something yourself, and yes, pastors go through stress, they go through trouble, they go through depression, their marriages have issues, they have struggles just like everybody else. You can't share it with anybody in your church, even if they're a close friend, because, my goodness, if I'm depressed and I'm mad and this person's hurt my feelings and I want to strike out at them, I can't tell somebody else in the church, hey, help me out, pray for me, because I'm really having a hard time, because they're liable to go to this other person and say, do you know what pastor's thinking about you? So you can't do that. So you have to find a friend outside, and that's hard for a lot of pastors. Very difficult. So many pastors don't have close friends or people they can talk to or confess what's going on. Many pastors have a lot of odd expectations set of them, expected to be able to do things that they can't possibly do, to know things they can't possibly know. I've had people that got mad at me because they were in a hospital and I didn't know, because they didn't tell me, none of their family members told me, nobody said anything to me. And they come to church the next week and I'm like, why didn't you come visit me? Visit you where? At the hospital. Why didn't you come? You were in the hospital? Did anybody tell me? We're not mind readers. We're not psychics. We can't figure these things out unless people tell us. And a lot of times people don't tell us. So if you want your pastor to come visit you or to call you or something, tell them. We don't know. Especially because a lot of times we're kind of walking around with so much stuff going on that if it's not written down or told to us directly, we have no idea. I've had people get mad at me because I asked them to be responsible. I will never forget, I had a group of people one time that we were asking them, you know, hey, if you can't make it, it's okay. We understand that stuff happens. Can you let us know in advance? We had some people that were driving an hour to come in for this meeting. You know, can you let us know so that we can make sure that it's worth their drive? And they wouldn't tell us. They wouldn't say anything. And we'd spend hours preparing for something and preparing for a service or an event to have nobody there that was supposed to be there. They told us they'd be there. So we start making phone calls. Where are you? Oh, I had something come up. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me know? Could you let me? And they get mad. How dare you tell me I'm supposed to let you know? How dare you use that responsible word? I'm sorry. These are hours I could have spent doing something else for somebody else. And yeah, how dare you sacrifice for me and not be there? This is normal. It really is. It's a scary thing sometimes, but the expectations that people have, it's kind of like, wow. I have, and I say all that to let you know that your pastor needs you. Your pastor still has a family. If they're married, they've got a spouse, they may have kids. Even if they're part of the Catholic Church, a priest there, they still have parents and siblings that they think about and worry about. Think about their family too. Remember them. Remember how much they're sacrificing. A lot of times they sacrifice time with their family to take care of the issues in the church, more so than a regular job does. You know, if your regular job, if they have a computer failure, you know, right before you're supposed to start work, well, it's not your problem. You sit back and you relax. You have a computer failure at church right before service starts, and you got to completely redo everything. It's not fun. I've had that. If you've got somebody who gets sick, you know, at your regular job, well, okay, we'll try to figure out how to cover their work. If you got somebody who gets majorly sick at your church, well, you've got the hospital visits, the family to take care of, food to prepare, and things like that. It's a lot more. And I'm not complaining about all of that. I really am not. But I just want you to be aware that it's a lot of work. And pastors don't do it for money. I'll go into stats on another video, but realize that the vast majority of pastors have to work an outside job to pay their bills and put food on the table because they don't make enough to do it. For us, this building you see behind us is our parsonage. We're very blessed that the church allows us to essentially live here rent-free. We still cover utilities, maintenance, and everything else that goes with it. That's pretty much my only pay from the church. If I And if we didn't have that, we probably wouldn't be able to make it. That's not unusual for pastors. The idea that a pastor is rich is goofy. Most of us don't ever make very much money. I know a lot of pastors that when they retire, they have no retirement other than Social Security, which isn't much. We sacrifice a lot. So realize when you're looking at your pastor at your church, they're sacrificing time with their family. They're sacrificing finances. They studied for years more than likely to get there. And goodness, if you only knew how many pastors still have school loans they're paying. 20 years, I've still got some. Remember that this month as we do Pastor's Appreciation. Remember their sacrifices. Remember everything they've given up. Remember all that they are offering and laying out on the table for you without necessarily the support network that you might have, that they don't necessarily have one behind them. They know people, they know things, but it's not always available to us. So this month, when you look at your pastor, realize that they're sacrificing themselves for you. They're sacrificing their time, their finances, their health, their well-being to take care of you. Sometimes to tell you what you don't want to hear, but what you need to hear. If your pastor's telling you something, listen. You want to bless your pastor the biggest way. Listen to what they have to say, and then let it motivate you to do what they're encouraging you to do. Dig into those scriptures. Dig into what God's trying to teach you and train you to do, and follow after it. You want to bless your pastor when they see you growing, when they see you changing, when they see you becoming more the person that God wants you to be. That's going to bless your pastor immensely. But so will a good thank you, pastor. And, you know, I just want you to know I appreciate you and love you. Thank you for doing what you do. Let your pastor know that you appreciate them. Thanks so much for watching. God bless.